Back in Tanya. Let's try to cover some ground. All right, today we're going to finish chapter 38. It's a long chapter. I think after this, the chapters get a little bit smaller. Some of them, we're going to have to go a little slower because they're a little bit deep and arrogant. Oh, they're a little deep and mystical?
Like Mordechai.
Yeah, there you go. But
the arrogant one.
But the lessons are very powerful. It says that the Alter Rebbe wrote 53 chapters corresponding to the 53 days in prison, and towards the end, they were hard on him, questioning the philosophy and what he was doing. It was a difficult.
Which Rebbe?
Alter Rebbe, yeah. So it says you can tell that the harder chapters correspond to the harder days in prison. So chapter 38 is talking about kavanah. In Judaism, hamaisa hu ha'ikar, like it says in the Gemara, action is paramount. You have to do the. No, it's not a good correlation. I see what you're doing now. You have to do the mitzvah. It says dvarim shebalev einam dvarim. The words of the heart are not words. So you have to do the mitzvah. But the mitzvah without intent is a hollow shell, meaning it doesn't go anywhere. The Kabbalah talks about the intent is like the wings, just like the wings of a bird, elevated. A bird doesn't need wings to live, doesn't need it to survive. It could live on the ground, but in order to function as a bird, in order to soar, it needs the wings. So too, you could just do a mitzvah, but just doing it, and a mitzvah is hollow. We should try to understand as best as possible why you were doing the mitzvah, or in what this is in what page of it. This is a different book. What page? 540. You know, and what's the purpose before we do a mitzvah? So in the beginning of I'm not today. Chapter 41, we're going to get it out there, but it talks about we put on a talis. A talit, we talk about how godly energy surrounds us. There's different intentions. You go look in Kabbalah. It talks about different intentions, what we do in different mitzvahs. But now the Alter Rebbe is going to discuss two general categories of in intent. You have it says like here we go. Kol mi shedato yafe. Anyone who has a good intellect, meaning you can learn. And he could understand, and he could discern and understand one thing from the other. Ladasas Hashem, to know godliness. Ulizbainen, and to think. By thinking is a skill. To think for a while, to sit and think. These days, no one has patience. But the idea to think on a topic, let's say 30 seconds straight, it sounds like nothing. But to try to think of something for 30 seconds straight, you see, you'll get distracted. It's actually not easy. You have to train yourself to think and to ponder. But in ancient times, there was a job called a philosopher. What was his job? To think. His job was to think and to tell people his thoughts. Maybe that was a blog before what it was. And now, once a person thinks about the greatness of God, what's the result from that? And to give birth from and to create from that understanding, from that contemplation. Bina comes from the word contemplation. Bina also is similar to the word boneh, to build, because based on the thinking, based on the contemplation, you're building an idea in your head. It's an edifice. Meaning it's not something just abstract. You got it. Yiri love a higher fear in your mind. In chapter 42, I think, the Alter Rebbe is going to talk about different types of love and fear. There's lower love and lower fear and higher love. There's lower fear and higher fear. Higher fear, Yiri love, supernal fear, something where you appreciate the greatness of some entity. Here it's God. It's not a question of you're afraid of what he might do to you. You feel so small in his presence. It's a fear of embarrassment. You automatically shrink in his presence. Hashem, to feel the love in the right ventricle, meaning there's the love of Hashem where you appreciate, but then you actually feel. You ever read the beginning of Rambam? He talks about how a person is supposed to love Hashem. You know what you read at the beginning of Mishnah Torah? beginning of, you read it? You see it there? In the first mitzvah, the Rambam says you have to know know and believe that God exists, and you have to love Hashem. And the Rambam doesn't stop there, and he says, imagine there's a young man who meets and he's infatuated by this young woman, and his mind is consumed over her, and he has these butterflies in his stomach. He doesn't use the word butterflies, but something to that equivalent, right? And he's all fuzzy. That's the way you got to love God.
Olive oil fine.
So is it the right side of his heart because it's
because it says the more
associated with chesed, or is it the has anything to do with the fact that it's deoxygenated?
No, the left side.
Chapter,
the left side.
No,
the left side has the evil.
Two kings and
right. Yeah.
That's why David says that he conquered the left side of his heart, and
right.
all of the evil in it. It's not there anymore.
The left side the left side has more blood. And the left side is where the blood is, where the nefesh of Bahamas is more. The right side is smaller.
Trying to see if there's any correlation to the fact that there's no oxygen in that side.
Oh, maybe.
On the right?
Yeah, on the right side of the heart.
So Al Yidei, and how do you do this? So first, the Alter Rebbe is showing you a step. First of all, you got to learn. Then after you learn, you have to think. What I heard this from somebody, and it's true. Many times we learn, but we don't think about what we learn. So what happens? We forget. There's an idea of pausing afterwards and just bringing it home, owning it, making it personal. So you're learning about the greatness of the Eibishter, and then you contemplate on that. And after, what's the result of you contemplating on that? You have a feeling of love, of connection. And what do you do when you have a feeling of love, of connection? This feeling of thirst to connect to Hashem. You want to fulfill Torah mitzvahs, to draw down the infinite light in order to connect to Him. And that's why he's doing the mitzvah, because it's God's mitzvah. Actually, last week I was away, so I went over to that guy. I asked him when I put on tefillin. He said, I don't believe it, doesn't make any sense to me. I said, okay, so put on tefillin because it doesn't make any sense. I said, okay. Apparently, and then I put on tefillin him the next day.
Isn't it like that story you told of the guy who was going out of his way to go out to dinner and break Shabbos laws, but he says,
right.
So you're celebrating Shabbos. Good for you.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You're doing it in your
right.
way.
So he was purposely keeping Shabbos. You remember that story? With Rabbi Evan Yisrael Steinsaltz. So it's one thing you do the mitzvah, but if you do the mitzvah because you want to connect to the Eibishter, and this is what Hashem wants, and that's why you're praying. You're not just saying the words, praying to some invisible entity. You want to connect. So this intent of Derech Moshe, for example, Nishmas Hamadaber. That is. So we said in the last class, you can have the kavanah of a person, and the kavanah, the intent of a person, and the intent of an animal. What's the difference between a person and an animal? These days, not so much. But is that the person has das, a person has intellect. A person should be motivated and pushed and directed by his intellect, not by his emotion. So here, why are you doing the mitzvah? Because you appreciate, and the emotion stems from the intellectual understanding of why I'm doing it. That's the kavanah of a madaber. Shu bal seichel. Bal seichel means, bal seichel, how do you translate it? Possesses intellect. Yeah. He's intelligent. There you go. He's intelligent. But bechira and free choice. You're not doing because he's forced to do it. He chooses. And I told the story a million times. That guy was in my office trying to convince me to try shrimp. Not convince me. He was describing to me how good shrimp is. And I kept saying, I can't eat it. Oh, Rabbi, but you have to. Finally, I had to explain to him. It's not like I can't, that I don't have the physical ability. I choose not to. Right? So a person who's doing the mitzvah is because he understands it and he chooses to do this or not to do this. And he speaks with wisdom. And somebody who's the second level, somebody whose understanding is more limited. It means if he learns and doesn't understand, then he won't be able to produce that contemplation. The greatness of Hashem. And if he doesn't understand, he won't be able to produce this love of appreciation, right? For example, I always use the example of sports. You don't follow, now is the basketball playoffs, right? You don't follow the whole season. You show up to a game and go, what's the big deal? Okay, they won a game. No, you don't understand. It's a championship. It's the game. I mean, if you don't understand, then you don't then you don't get excited. When you understand, that's when you get excited. Right? To borrow the words of Jack Buck, I don't believe what I just saw. Right? Whether it's love or fear or dread. So now the Alter Rebbe is going to say, so what's the hope for this person? Not everybody's a genius, right? Not everybody's a doctor. Right?
He's looking at me.
But these days, everyone could become a doctor, right? Online university, right?
If you want to put in the work, you can become a doctor.
Right? So not everybody can.
ChatGPT has a degree.
Exactly.
What?
There you go.
I mean, Jill Biden is the doctor.
Oh, Jill. I have
Yeah.
a PhD.
In what?
Education.
Doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
What do you think Joe Biden's is?
Exactly. That's the point. It doesn't count.
Yeah, if you're flying, if you're flying a plane, so if you're flying on a plane, someone says they're a doctor on board, you're not raising your
I
hand.
don't raise my hand.
Exactly.
The only time I
You could
used
talk
it-
to the person,
What
make
do you
them
think
feel
about
better.
this thing right here that's growing on my...
The only time I
Yeah.
ever used it,
Yeah, please.
the only time I ever used it was when I was talking to a principal. Just wanted to make sure he knew I knew as much as he knew and what was going on.
So now the Alter Rebbe is going to say, so while it's true, that there's two types of governor, one intellectual, and one a guy, if he doesn't have a cup, as they say, he doesn't have the Gemara cup to learn, what's the hope for him? So Alter Rebbe goes back and says, it's true that the guy has a harder time waking up the intellectual, the love based on intellectual understanding, but every Jew automatically is connected to the Eibishter. Is one with the Eibishter, is one with Hashem. So, because of that, every Jew has a love for the Eibishter. It means, just like a child automatically loves his parent, if he's normal, and a parent automatically loves his child, if he's normal. Well, because these days, not everybody is normal. I allowed to say that word? I know they started outlawing words. You grew up, you're allowed to say different words now. So a Jew, if he's a normal Jew, and I was learning Rambam yesterday, we're talking about a normal Jew, if he doesn't act a certain way, you can question whether he's Jewish. It says if he's, it says, Baishanim, Rachmanim, and Gom Lechasanim. Baishanim, Rachmanim, and Gom Lechasanim.
Baishan, Rachman,
Gom Lechasanim. Huh?
Baishan, Rachman, V'chashdan.
Chashdan?
Yeah, like
What's that?
He's not quick to just believe it.
Skeptic?
He's like
No, that's not what the Rambam says. Rambam says Gom
Who
Lechasadim.
says skeptic?
what was the third one?
Gom Lechasadim. He says he's modest, he's merciful, and he's giving. He's generous. The Rambam says, it talks about in the laws of marriage. You know, if you're looking into another family, it says if a family exhibits these behaviors, they're obnoxious and they're stubborn and they're unforgiving. It says you have to look into their 23andMe, because Jews act a certain way. So the Alter Rebbe falls back over here now. Every Jew automatically is connected to God. Every Jew loves God. It's natural. It's normal. So even though you might not understand why you love it, you might not understand why you got to do the mitzvah. I don't appreciate the value of the mitzvah. This is not. We're going to come close to it in a month and a half. Whole story of Korach and Moshe. What was the argument? Korach was Moshe's first cousin.
He wanted to fight.
But what was the fight? Korach came to
didn't want to
Moshe.
make peace with Aaron.
Yeah, he
Questioning
also wanted to
why
be
Aaron
part of the
was-
priesthood.
Really? But really, you can't understand why Aaron's better than
A
you?
little bit.
Aaron,
They all
Moshe
saw
and Aaron.
prophecy into the future. Korach saw that his future had Samuel and Asaph in it, and he saw that Moses didn't
Samuel.
have a direct descendant in the future that was leading, and he made it a point of trying to take control. He was one of the wealthiest and most powerful people in Am Yisrael,
So-
and in not seeking to make peace with Aaron, which is what Moses wanted him to do. Moses would have given him a role, and Moses would have included him. He just wanted him and Aaron to make peace, but Korach did not want to make peace with Aaron, and that's the only time that Moses was actually upset in the Torah. It angered Moses.
I'd be interested to see where you find out that Moshe was going to give him a role. Where do you?
Well, no, not give.
because
oh
the
my God,
rules.
that's what you want to get stuck on, this whole thing? Moses was trying to make peace between him and Korah. Between Korach and Aaron.
Moshe told Korah, but I don't want to get stuck in the story. The point of the story is, one second.
That's from the Zohar.
I was saying the point is that Korach comes and seems to ask a stupid question. Why are you better than everyone else? Really? You really don't understand? Moshe and Aaron went up higher than everyone else. Korach was on the bottom of the mountain. Moshe and Aaron went almost at the top, Moshe to the very top. You really don't understand why Moshe and Aaron is better than you? So Chassidus explains is that Moshe came and told the Jewish people that Hamaisa Hoiker, action is the most important thing. So then Korach said, wait, if intent is the most important thing, you're better. But if action is the most important thing, then we're the same. So now why are you better than everyone else? That was Korach's question. So that what he's going to say is, it's true, action is the most important thing, but how you do the mitzvah is different. So you have the person who does the mitzvah with the neshama, the intent of a person he understands. You're the person who does it because he knows Hashem wants him to do the mitzvah. And he loves the Eibush. Hashem loves me, I love him, he wants me to do the mitzvah, that's good enough for me. Let's learn it inside. Rak. Shezoicher. He remembers, and awakens. Ha'ava tivis amosteres believe it. This hidden love, it's hidden, this deep love, the natural love that is hidden in his heart. And he takes it out, and he reveals it. He brings it out, and he held him, Hester, from the concealment and the hidden recesses of his heart, to the real part of his mind. At the very least, that what every Jew wants to connect to God. That's the natural state. We spoke about this in chapters 8. That every Jew has a natural inclination to go back to its root. So this is that in his mind, in the recesses of his heart, maskim he approves and consents. That's what he wants to do, and if it comes to it, if that's what it means, limser nafshe b'pal mamash al yichud Hashem. You have the Jews who gave up their lives. Now we're coming to the month of Sivan. Sivan was actually a terrible month for the Jews. Do you know there are a lot of people who would fast many days in Sivan? In the story of the Crusades, a lot of Jews were murdered in the month of Sivan. By the Romans, yeah, it was a terrible month. That's why out of all, usually Shabbat Mavarchim, there's one paragraph we skip, and the Shabbos before Sivan, we say it. Because a lot of bad things happen in the month of Sivan. There was a fast on the 20th of Sivan. There was a fast on the 15th of Sivan. Used to be. Now communities don't do it anymore. But this concept of giving up their lives for God. You think that only religious people did that? No, there are Jewish people throughout all the ages, that even though they're very religious, but they said, I'm a Jew, and that's the way. I might not live like a Jew the best, but I'm definitely dying as a Jew. In order to connect to Hashem and become one with Him. And that is a person's thinking. I don't understand exactly the tefillin, and I don't understand exactly why it works. But what I know it works. That when I do this mitzvah, I am united and in a state of absolute unity with God. So like you take a pill. Or I drive my car. You think I know how it works? I don't know. I get inside, push the button, I drive. I don't care how it works. It works, right? So same thing as a guy says, I haven't studied rocket science. I don't know exactly how it works, but I know in order to connect to God, I got to do this. So he's motivated by the knowledge that this mitzvah is going to make me one with Him. That's an alien. This is Hashem's will. Hamuluvash that is invested. And clothed with Talmud Torah and the study of Torah, keep mitzvahs and learning mitzvahs. So and it's not only the love, because every relationship has love and fear. Fear doesn't necessarily mean fear is going to slap you, right? You might not do something because you don't want to disappoint your wife, right? How many guys are going to buy flowers this Sunday, right? What happens when you don't buy flowers? Your wife's going to hit you? Hope not. Take off a belt. I was at Publix today. An old lady wanted to buy mezuzahs. I couldn't get her. She doesn't know ways. So I said, Publix? Okay, I'll meet you in Publix. It's like a drug deal. We walked into Publix. I took out mezuzah. You want this one? This one? Rolex, Cartier. but the whole public's all happy Moses Day, right? What happens if some people said, I have to buy flowers. Some people say, I better buy flowers, otherwise my wife is going to be very upset. Right? Right? So fear doesn't necessarily mean fear of punishment. Fear can mean fear of disappointment. So a guy wants to connect to Hashem, or he'll stay away. So the Rambam writes about eating not kosher, that our attitude shouldn't be, I can't eat shrimp, I can't eat bacon. That's disgusting. I can't eat those. What do the people eat the bugs for protein? Crickets? I think it's cricket, right?
Oh, there's kosher ones that.
They're kosher.
Grasshoppers. That would be grasshopper.
Yeah.
There's a whole debate if we really know what the kosher grasshoppers are, though.
Used to be
It's
a
not
liquor
debatable.
grasshopper.
The Yemenites know.
And Iraqis know.
I'm saying the question is if.
You need 4 front legs, 2 back legs, and you need a head on the base.
I'm telling you that people are saying that I think even the Rambam writes that knowledge. I'm not saying they're doing wrong. I'm saying there's a debate if the knowledge was passed down correctly or not. Same thing, by the way, with the Tchelat Yishana.
Is this just like a looking down on darker Jews from
Yes.
other nations?
Yes.
Because of the
Definitely.
bugs?
I didn't even know they do. They do that. They eat them. I
They
don't know.
eat them, and there's exact.
I'm saying the same-
depending on how to check for kashrut.
The same debate is with the blue string, the blue dye with the.
But they know now what.
They know exactly.
But
what
I'm
it
saying
was.
there's some people that they don't want to, because for example the blue dye is not ma'akev. You could do the
They
mitzvah of
don't
tzitzit.
trust the archaeology. I mean,
They found the
Because-
tzitzit, and they were able to do the chemical composition. of it.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing with you that it's valid. I'm saying there are people. I'm just stating to you that some people.
yeah, there's some people that believe that there's a guy that was
earthers?
born.
Yeah, there's some people that
man
think that if
is
you light with olive oil, you
Listen.
can never go back to light anything ever again. And then just being arrogant.
You can say stupidity
I'm
all
not
you want,
interested
but I'm
in
saying
what-
I'm quoting a book.
I'm not interested
They
with some
say
people. I just
Detroit.
want to
No,
know like what.
no, because it says clearly, it's brought down, it's written clearly that we don't know exactly how to make tchelet anymore. The Rambam wrote it 800 years ago.
But he didn't know back then. But now that we know,
Inherently, there are different.
But we
parts
say
of the
we
world
we
with
say
different
we know. Who's
understandings.
we? Some rabbi
Different nusach.
I'm saying so. Some rabbis disagree with that finding. That's all I'm saying. When you say you're saying we, it's not an absolute
No, I-
consensus. I'm saying same thing with the bugs. It's not everybody agrees.
But is there ever an absolute consensus in
Yeah,
Judaism?
sure.
Like,
Well, there
Jews in
was
the room, 5
there
opinions,
was
come
no,
on,
there
bro,
was
like-
no, there was until there was until the
In
Sanhedrin.
the room, you got
Until the Sanhedrin was disbanded. Until the Sanhedrin was disbanded, there was.
10 out of the
Would you
12
ever
tribes
accept
broke
it?
off because they didn't agree. There were many times before the Sanhedrin where there was also disagreements on certain things.
Yeah, but the disagreements were settled. The whole thing, but there wasn't.
That's not the point.
By the Kohen Gadol, right?
We're going off that.
No, Kohen Gadol was not part of. I mean, it could be. It was a part of the Sanhedrin, but the Sanhedrin was the Supreme Court. Anytime there was a disagreement on halacha, you came there and said, and they decided, and that was it.
But that was in the time of the judges, right?
No, it's
that
way
was,
after.
That was until after the second
That's
temple.
when there wasn't even a Davidic line in king.
Yeah, there was. Well, we always had a Davidic line king in Zerubbabel and into the
What are you
Reish
talking
Galusa.
about?
Hillel's from the Davidic line.
I'm talking about the Sanhedrin and you're talking and King Herod.
No, I'm talking about we knew.
That's what I meant.
Hillel's
That's
family
what
is
I
from.
said.
Is
I
from
don't know what you meant. I know what I meant.
But the point is, we're getting track over here. But the point is that there's 2 ways to do a mitzvah. There's mitzvah because you want to. There's 2 ways of relationship to God. One, I want to connect, and I might not understand exactly how it works, or what the cosmic effect of when I put on tefillin and all that. But I know Hashem wants me to put on tefillin. I won't put on tefillin. I started talking about Rambam. Rambam says the person shouldn't say I can't eat this or that. It's disgusting. The person should say Hashem doesn't want me to eat pig. I won't eat pig. Hashem doesn't want me to eat shrimp. I won't eat it. It's a fear of disappointment. He doesn't want me to do it. He asked me not to do it. I won't eat it. You can start getting into Nachmanides, what the Ramban says, that the animals have different qualities, and these are all nice things. But not everybody understands that, because some guy can come cow meat, pig meat. I mean,
so in the same token, Hashem wants you to wear tefillin.
but the mitzvah of tzitzis, by the way, is said twice in the Torah. One
With chelet.
one with tcheles and one without. So one time it says what we say every day,
When you're
and then one it says gedilim tasalacha. One it says without tcheles. That's how the rabbis learn out that you can have. Go back to this, and then we'll move on. You can have white without blue, but you can't have the wrong blue. It's better to have only white than to have the wrong blue. That's why some communities are
I've
very
heard
careful.
a rabbi specifically say that that's galut thinking.
Yeah, isn't it white isn't galut and you can have blue now?
Yeah, and if you wear the wrong blue, it's just a wrong blue.
No, that is not true. And you're doing the mitzvah wrong.
Well, I've heard
It's
a
better.
rabbi say
It's
something.
better not to wear tzitzit than to wear a four-cornered garment with not kosher tzitzit.
Maybe.
Saying so, if you're going to do the mitzvah, you sort of have to do it right. You can't do it wrong. So, you know what I'm saying? So
But doesn't this go back to?
We're going back to kavanah though.
Yeah, this goes back to intent. Like if you think that you're doing it correctly, isn't the intent?
no, but if you think you're doing it correctly, but you're not doing it correctly, that
But
doesn't
who
help.
is the judge of who's doing it correct?
Halacha. So you have to follow what your community does. So, for example, in the Ashkenazi community, mostly, I'm saying most Ashkenazim, we don't use tchelet, right? So then we don't do it. Understand? So let's say, for example, let's not get into that. It's the controversial topic. In the Torah, there's something called a carbon chatas, a sin offering. A sin offering is if a person did something, they thought it was okay. It turned out it wasn't. They had to bring a sin offering. It doesn't make them a bad person. The intent doesn't whitewash it, make it okay. We're talking about over here, you're trying to serve Hashem. We're mixing up, I think, two different things.
In Israel, do you sleep in a sukkah?
It has nothing to
I'm
do
just
with
asking, in Israel,
No.
in Eretz Israel, do you
No.
sleep in a sukkah?
No, the reason why Chabad doesn't sleep in a sukkah is because there are two mitzvahs in the Torah that represent Sayyid al-Kalaman, mikveh and sukkah. And sukkah is the only mitzvah you can do. So mikveh represents bittul, you totally suspend yourself, you can't breathe. Sukkah is the only mitzvah you can do as a human being. It represents internalizing the highest level of godliness. And when you sleep, you're 60th dead, it says in Gemara, so we don't want to introduce tumah into the sukkah. That is why Tzemach Tzedek writes, we don't sleep in the sukkah.
But it doesn't say in the Torah to sleep in the sukkah.
It says in the Torah you should dwell in the sukkah for 7 days. Dwell means eating. Dwell means like you eat and sleep in your house.
Mean sleeping?
Well, it means both. It means both. Just like you sleep in your house, you should eat and sleep.
Are there other Jews that sleep in a sukkah in
A
Israel?
lot of Jews, not all over the world. But on the other hand, Chabad is fanatical about eating in the sukkah. Now, other communities are more lenient about it. If it starts raining, they go inside. Chabad, we won't eat or drink anything outside the sukkah, no matter the weather.
It's interesting to learn from all perspectives.
Aren't you curious what would happen to your neshama if you do sleep in the sukkah at night?
Yeah, but if my Rebbe my teacher told me not to, that we don't, then why would I do it?
Because part of being a Jew is questioning.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I got an answer.
And if somebody holds those beliefs, they should be able to articulate them clearly.
I just did.
Should
Tzemach
all 13
Tzedek-
Nesachim do what you do?
What's that? Tzemach Tzedek, you follow your teacher. I follow my teacher. I never said you can't sleep in a sukkah.
What if there's a teacher that disagrees?
But you said it was
Fine.
your 1/60th
That's
when you're asleep. And,
right.
And
That's why we watch Netilat Yadayim when we.
and you hold the sukkah. Tell me about what you said about the
The
sukkah.
sukkah represents.
Yeah.
So every mitzvah represents my Malik Alaman, the way Hashem's energy is invested into the world in an individualized way, right? You do with your mitzvah, you do with your hand, you do it with your foot, you do it with your mouth. Sukkahs are one of the mitzvahs you do with your entire body. And it's not, and unlike mikveh, which is also you do with your entire body, and the mitzvah surrounds you. But unlike mikveh, which you suspend yourself, you can't breathe under the water, sukkah represents you're acting as a regular human being, you're eating and drinking, yet you're in touch with this crazy high save of kalam, the level of godliness that can't be internalized in an individual way. It surrounds you, but you're internalizing this encompassing energy. It seems like impossible. That's why it's Zman Simchasenu. That's why joy, dancing doesn't make any sense, right?
Doesn't your soul yearn for that though?
Exactly.
Yeah, but when you're asleep, that's like I would think that's where it would feel the most protected.
No. But the night before, by the way, why do we stay up the night before Shavuos?
It had something to do with the fact that in Ukraine it was cold?
What? Why do we stay up the night before Shavuos? Because the Jewish people went to sleep thinking that that's what they should do. The neshama should have said. The idea of dir b'tachtein, the idea is the neshama has to be down here. That's the whole idea of sukkah. The idea of sukkah is you have to eat. You must eat challah. You have to eat. The holiest day of the year is Purim, holier than Yom Kippur. When you eat, when you act like a human being, the whole purpose of the world, Olam Hazeh, is not to run away from the world. It's to bring godliness down. That's why Hashem created Olam Hazeh. It's a different perspective. That's why Chabad, we do things a certain way. I'm not saying their perspective is wrong. It's different. Listen, there's Beishamai and Basil. I mean, that's not a good example because ultimately they acted. There was one. They acted the same. But the communities. By the way, Ukraine and Russia had a bunch of different problems. By the way, If you got an early snow, you couldn't sit in the sukkah. If there's too much snow, it's considered a house. For example, sometimes there's storms. Like for example, this next year, I know it's crazy late. What time is it, by the way?
9:09.
9:09.
Yeah, class is ending in like 5 minutes.
Like this year, next year, not this year. Next year is a leap year, so Sukkot is going to be all the way in late October, mid-October. And if you live in Buffalo or Toronto, we get awful eerie. There were times they couldn't eat in the sukkah because there was too much snow packed on top of the sukkah. It's considered.
It's like a roof.
It's like a roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why didn't they have the intent to clean off the roof and then go?
What do you intend?
Why didn't they clean off the roof
You
to
can't.
fulfill the mitzvah?
You can't. On
Well,
Yom Tov,
yeah.
you can't.
What? People didn't go outside
take-
and clear snow after storms
The,
to fulfill mitzvahs?
the Yom Tov guy?
Maybe I had a guy. I
Oh,
can't remember.
yeah,
I can't
you're
remember.
right, because you're
I
going to
can't
send
remember.
a boy out there to clean your
I
roof.
can't remember.
You want to fulfill the mitzvah,
Oh man,
you
there's
can't
a lot
clean
of
to
By the
snow
way-
on my roof on there.
By the way, you remind me of. I remember when I was a kid, we with snowstorms. So the kids around the neighborhood, the guy would come around the neighborhood, ding dong, I'll shovel your snow, whatever it is, for $5. My mother would always say, "I'm not interested." I would say to my mother, "Why are you saying not interested? Why don't you hire them?" She said, "Why should I hire them?"
I got you.
Yeah, I got you. Like what if it was back-breaking work? Sitting with the ice pick. Yeah. Anyway, so let's finish this. Let's finish this off. So the idea is the guy wants to connect to Hashem and not to disappoint him. Kavanah zu, and with this kavanah, this intent, who sur mira, he stays away from what Hashem finds this pleasurable. Like I'll tell you something. It's not, my wife doesn't like cotton. She hates cotton.
Oh, yeah. Cotton.
Cotton, it makes her nauseous. To me, it's the most nonsensical stupidity in the world. Cotton,
You
really?
open up like a
Yeah.
Tylenol bottle.
Yeah. What she says, she takes it, open up the bottle, and I can't see it. And I remember my kids would come home.
That's what I'm thinking of.
I know what she was reincarnated. I know what she was in her past life.
When my kids would come home. My kids would come home.
Swing low.
My kids would come
She
home.
also hates the movie The Color Purple.
I don't know what that movie is, but okay. I have a feeling it's something to do with. But the kids would come home with the projects.
Wicked ear infections.
The kids would come home with projects. She would take the projects, throw it straight in the garbage because she couldn't stand it. But she found it displeasurable, so we don't bring it into the house. So my girls use it to do their nails. They make sure to have it in their own.
Force her to face her fears of cotton?
That's not my place. No.
You're her protector. You're supposed to protect her against fabrics.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
I protect against
You're
fabric.
We gotta wrap
Right.
this up, guys.
So,
come on.
so if Hashem doesn't like it,
I gotta
you
get
stay,
out of here soon.
Hashem doesn't like it, you stay away. V'asei tev, you do good. V'leimin in his power, he learns and prays and he blesses. But Peter, even if it means not understanding all the Kabbalistic intent, just understanding the words you're saying. And now everything's with Hebrew and English. But even if he doesn't have this revealed burning love in his heart and his mind. But this intent, if wanting to connect with Hashem, do what Hashem says, and to defer and to disassociate what Hashem finds displeasurable, that's like the animal intent. He does it why? Because he's told to do it. Like an animal, and all his emotions, yirasa, which is his fear, of harmful things, and love of things that are pleasurable to him, and he does it because it comes natural, because he's a yid, and a yid naturally does what Hashem wants, and not because he necessarily understands. And so similar, for example, every Jew can strive after this, because you're a yid. And just like, for example, if your name is Rothschild, you get the check, right? Because it's inheritance. You're a yid. You love the Eibusher. You want to connect to the Eibusher, whether you realize it or not. It's in there. So the Rebbe, the Chassidus always told us, our job is not to go to a Jew and introduce him to something new. Try this product. It'll be good for you. Our job is to go to the Jew who says it's in you. All we got to do is reveal it. So that's why Chassidus' view was always try to get a Jew to do a mitzvah. Because when you do one mitzvah, it reveals that love. And because it's a Yerusha, I hate Yerusha, it's an inheritance from my father. My Teva, it's the natural instinct of our soul, we learned in chapter 18. So this has to be our motivation and encouragement to do a mitzvah. Because when you do a mitzvah, it's natural to you. You just got to reveal what's there. And the more you learn, and the more you appreciate, the easier mitzvahs will come to you. Have a good and less contentious week.
Here.